Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Milquetoast Minute. I don't know what I'm going to call this thing, but welcome to a spoiler discussion of Final Fantasy XVI. It's way, way late because, well, it took me forever to finish the game, and so these gentlemen here were waiting patiently while I finished the game. But yeah, so I am joined here by the big green mage, MageORage. How you doing?
Doing great. Excited to be here talking about this game with you guys. Um, got some things to say that I don't think maybe the internet's ready to hear, but you know me. I've been saying the things people don't want to hear since my very first NerdTube video. So
Gotcha. Well, we're getting ready to break it down. And down, speaking of down here is the BeardedManThing. How are you doing?
Bum, 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 bum. Doing pretty good. I agree with Mage. There are a lot of things that I don't know if a lot of people agree on. I think a lot more people agree with what I'm going to say that I think. Like, I think I would be surprised to find out that people feel extremely differently than how I feel about this game.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, as I said, I mean, there's a lot of hot takes on this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And mine may be a hot take. I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so just really quick, we got one or two chatters here. Stytrust says, "Hey all, hey."
Ooh.
And then Lee Ann Locklear, I wonder who that is, says, "Hey guys." Hi girl, hey. All right, so I guess let's just jump into it. So Final Fantasy 16. Let's just talk about our favorite parts, like just like the knockdown, drag out favorite part of Final Fantasy, like just in general. And I'm gonna be honest and say I feel like the story, with the exception of one part that we'll talk about later, but I feel like the story really knocked it out of the park in this game a lot. What do you guys think?
I haven't. A plot of a video game hasn't made me feel things as often or as strongly as this game in a very long time. Like, probably before Final Fantasy X. It was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. What about you, Bearded?
I would have to say if we're starting with favorite parts, it would be the Titan battles. The big knockdown, drag out, like huge Titan battles were probably my favorite part of the game. When you got to become Ifrit or Rising Ifrit and really go toe to toe with some of the other summons, I feel like that was my favorite part of the game because it was like just really well done cinematically, and it was a lot of fun.
Also, everyone, I think I said it earlier, but I'm saying again, spoilers, big old spoilers. If you haven't finished the game and you don't want to know, you ain't in the right spot. Okay, so I mean, I was talking about the story. You're talking about the Titan battles. What stuck out for you, like as one of the best things in this game?
Wow, I mean, we've hit the two of the big three things that make an RPG, and you got to have combat. And I feel like just the combat in general really stood out for me. I'm usually your big turn-based stan, but I absolutely love the combat engine in this game. I had so much fun just kind of designing my own combos, figuring out my own approaches, what strats I like to use for the bosses, and I know that on my subsequent runs, I can do things completely differently and still have really viable strats for each of the boss fights. And it's going to be fun to try to challenge myself to taking those on in a different way than I did maybe the first time.
Okay. All right. And then just really quickly, what's one thing that just irked you guys about this game? Like irked you, like to the core. Mine is the elemental damage. I'm like,
Okay.
how can fire not get hurt more by ice? Like, this makes no sense. That was my big irk thing. Like, as I said, it can be a tiny little thing, even if it's just like, Torgal's eye was not yellow. Like, I mean, it could be whatever you want. But like, yeah, my thing was the elemental thing. It drove me bonkers that fire element did not hurt ice, or or lightning did not hurt water, or whatever. It just bugged me to no end.
I think the thing that irked me the most, the thing that I was most upset about, is the fact that I'm an item goblin and I hoard items. And when you're doing the blacksmithing and upgrading, you lose your last best item to get into the next item. And it's an item that visually changes on screen, like the swords. There's literally a different sword for each upgrade, and they all look really fucking cool. And the fact that you have to give it up to get the next one. Not only that, you can't go back and replay old stages and get the items again to recreate the original. Like, you can't recreate the Windblade again because you can only get one wind crystal, and that's it.
Orichalcum. I know I think there was an item that I couldn't make because I didn't have enough Orichalcum.
There is enough items in the game to make all the blacksmith stuff, but if you accidentally sell one of them that you can only get like one or two of, you're done.
I don't remember. I thought there was, or maybe it was like till the very end of the game. Like I think it was like
Orichalcum in the entire game, and they're needed for two different items, I think.
Yeah,
and both of them are like hunt rewards.
All right.
But yes, it irritated me that you couldn't grind for some of these items. Even playing the whole game again, you can't grind for the items.
Yeah. Mage?
See, you guys have ones that make sense. They're actual gripes, and both of those things bothered me. The lack of elemental weaknesses and strengths more so than the item one. But I see both of those. Mine is stupid. You know how I am. I'll find things that bug me that make you and Sam just kind of look like, what? Why? There's not enough farmland in Valistia. How do they feed all these people? Like, we've got entire towns with one or two farmsteads outside of them. They can't feed all of those people with that little bit of land. Where is the farmland? The one spot in the game where it feels halfway like they have enough farmland is the spot between Northreach and Oriflamme. That irks me, and it makes no sense that it bothers me, but it does. And I'm that guy.
Whatever minor gripe it is, as I said, whatever it is.
So glad you let me get that one out there. I was wondering where I was going to be able to shoehorn that in, but I had to say it.
And a lot of the farmland we do see is dead.
Yeah. Well,
so, yeah, I get it. Like visually, unless they're taking care of it off camera, which I guess there is a lot of off camera areas for the map that we never get to see. But the farmland we do see close to where was it? The
Lost Wing.
Yeah, close to Lost Wing is all like decrepit, and then Lost Wing has the ether explosion and poisoning of the land, and it's like that was literally all the land we saw that had usable crops. And now it's all gone.
By the end of the game, they're eating Gishel greens. They're literally like Depression era Southerners eating poke salad. They're eating chocobo food.
Yep. Yeah. Just a couple more comments here from Lee Ann. She says, love watching Mage play this game. The story was awesome and kept my interest, which is often hard to do. Which, as I said, I give props to the story. This story was excellent.
I mean,
no, go for it, man. It's kind of open format here. Go for it.
I'm not going to shit all over the story because there were some really amazing parts that I really liked. I liked the story of Joshua and Clive and the brothers and being split up after their fatal encounter with Ifrit and Phoenix. I like that. But there are several parts of the story where it just feels like they dropped the ball with some of the writing. It just didn't make any fucking sense. The way they wrote it, the way they presented it. One being, this was one that somebody else actually pointed out to me that I didn't notice. This comes straight from my good friend Tick Cities. I really enjoyed a lot of the Barnabas fight and the fight before with his sword. Now I'm blanking on his name, but the sword really is like, what's the line he delivers? My king, the vessel is ready, and then dies. And then you proceed on with the story, and Barnabas whops the shit out of you for like 4 fucking chapters. You do nothing but get your ass kicked. It was some of the writing could use some improvement, and it's basically because this is Square Enix's first Game of Thrones.
And I do agree with you that that the whole, we are attacking the vessel to prepare the vessel. You know what I mean? Well, what happens if like Clive accidentally stubs his foot and then, you kill him? Like, you know what I mean? Like this whole refining the vessel through fire of combat or whatever. I get it. It's a little bit annoying because it's just like, no, like there's no, like, if I was preparing a vessel for my return, I would not want people attacking it. You know what I mean? Like, I
get the premise of that. I do, but it was like the game basically said that you were ready and then proved that you were not ready. They Vegeta'd you. They were like, oh, you're so much stronger. And then you proceed to get your ass kicked by a mama's boy in purple armor.
Nice.
And don't get me wrong, I like Barnabas. He was a good villain. He was.
I actually did not like Barnabas as I was going to bring this up when we talked about the villains, but might as well now. I was not a huge fan of Barnabas. I thought
loved him as a villain. I did.
He was just so bland. Like he was like your emotionally fractured child. Like like emotionally fractured child. He's like Homelander, like from The Boys.
Things that get cut from the game. I go on and on about all the stuff that gets cut from like Final Fantasy, has been cut from Final Fantasy VIII. That whole entire continent was supposed to have people, and there was supposed to be a much larger build-up to Barnabas's villainy, rather than everybody already being Akashic, and they had to cut some of the story from the game, and that yeah.
It did feel like it just kind of, there was a big jump there, and trying to put Barnabas over like 3 times, which did seem a little excessive. Him owning you to put him. I get that they're trying to put him over, very much like a wrestling booking, but it seemed excessive by the end. So if they were trying to fill some space because of lost content on Ash, that would make sense.
I mean,
Ash is a continent. Like going straight up through there, like the area was really nice, but it was like devoid of everything because again, they cut a lot of the people and used the excuse that they were already Akashic. You just kind of missed out on
that. We can actually, if we can continue with villains, Leanne says, I thought the mom was the worst villain. I didn't care for Barnabas at all. And you know what? What was her name? I have it written down here.
Annabella.
Yeah. Annabella Ronsfield. Let's talk about that villain really quick, because this game did try to put some strong female villains forward, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I mean, I really feel like they dropped the ball with Annabella. I really do, because I think they could have made her worse than she actually was, and like her ending was just so she just ended it.
Fucking unsatisfying.
Yeah, very unsatisfying.
It was so fucking unsatisfying the way because I hated her so fucking much.
It needed to be in somebody's hands.
She's a very basic villain because that story has just been told over it, but it works so fucking well for a villain story. Like it just does. And I hated her so fucking much. And then she fucking kills herself at the end. No, bitch. This is not how you fucking die.
Listen, the Phoenix.
Where's the matricide? I was waiting for the matricide.
Listen, I was about to say, listen. Joshua needed to be just like, no, bitch, you ain't dying. Like, rise her back up from the dead, And then Clive's like, swack. Clive kills her then. God. Yeah, no re-raise there.
Much.
I know. I was so mad about that because I'm just like, and I mean, like,
when she did that, I was like, no, fuck, why?
I get to kill you.
It could have been a fucking boss fight.
Oh,
have y'all seen that clip of the stormtrooper in the Star Wars game that's like the janitor or something? And he comes out and he gets the boss music and the health bar and everything, and then he just dies in one hit. We could have had that at least.
Yeah, Leon's like Clive should have been able to ended her. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
And we were pissed too. Absolutely.
I would have. I think the way his writing was, I don't think he would have done it.
No, I don't think he would have either, but I feel like he should have. I would have been okay with it. I would have been like, it would have been a surprise, but I would have been like, yeah.
I like
okay.
They would have went with that moment of I'm done being a weapon, and he just drops his sword or whatever, and he has that big character growth moment.
Yeah, well, since we're going down the strong female villains, what do you guys think of Benedicta Harmon?
I did like Benedicta. And I even like how they sort of made you feel sorry for her in the end a little bit.
Yeah.
Really kind of like she had probably some of the most character growth as a villain in the game because they started telling her backstory and where she came from. We just found out a lot more about her. So I did like her as a villain. She was a good villain, and she, I
thought she served her purpose. Like, the initial foil to Clive and, some really good boss fights. And I mean, Garuda is always a very striking, is usually a very striking.
Garuda is a weird pick.
It's like the one. Also, it's the only one that's not like one of like your mainstay, like old school ones.
Yeah, but
it's one of the more original summons, and I think that's what this game was all about. So like Yoshi P, he's a huge Final Fantasy fan. When he directs Final Fantasy games, when he goes into like creating the Final Fantasy expansions for Final Fantasy XIV, and I haven't even played it, but everything I've seen, everything people have talked about, he is all about like going back and throwing it back and paying homage to the things that came before. It's just what he fucking does. He's good at it. And like this whole game was like a love song to Final Fantasy 1 through 6. And I believe the choice in summons are like your basic beginning, like the first summons that before it got into, like Alexander and all the big summons, the huge roster that we used to have. I think he went back to basics with which summons were available, which means, Bahamut, Shiva, Ifrit, Garuda, I think is probably one of the weaker ones, as one of the original summons that came out. But I believe Garuda was in 5.
I know Garuda plays a big part in I think 14, but I don't remember.
It might have been not just a 14, but
8 is the first time I remember Garuda popping up, but also I didn't really play 5 much.
Where did Garuda pop up in 8?
Am I just pulling that out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Was it one of the GFs?
No,
not in 8.
No. I don't even see. That's the problem. Is I think Pandemonia was the wind summon in 8, but yeah, I know. Garuda I think has been, but I think Garuda was a boss.
It's more of a classic villain.
Yeah, it's more of a boss. I know it was a summon like boss type character, like in 14, because I remember playing that one. But yeah, Garuda's kind of a weaker pick. But then again, how many wind summons do we really have in Final Fantasy? Like Pandemonia,
Wolf, which is a healing summon. It doesn't work for a villain character.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't. So just following down the crap. I lost my notes. Just following down the let's just finish up with the villains. We got 2 left that we might as well talk about. Hugo Kupka. You know who the last one is, but yeah, Hugo Kupka. I didn't like him all that much. I thought he was just. I lost it when he lost his hands and like he's like crying like a baby and like I don't know.
I love how he went a little insane as the time went on after the death of I don't love him as a villain. I don't think he was the strongest villain character. But I did like the writing behind him losing his hands and losing Benedicta. The biggest issue I had with Kupka was who the fuck cut off Benedicta's head? Because it sure as fuck was not
Sid.
Yes, Sid. It was not fucking Sid. Sid didn't fucking do it. There's no way Sid did that shit.
Sleipnir or Barnabas do it to manipulate Kupka to get him all pissed off.
Yeah, but they
didn't fucking say.
I say they didn't follow up on that, but that would have been a good little twist there.
Yes, and Kupka went through that whole thing like blaming Sid, and like
it would have been Barnabas.
He didn't fucking do that. It's not in Sid's character. He loved Benedicta too much. Clive left her body behind and passed out. He didn't have a chance to fucking do it. But I did like Clive's line of like, "I'm the new Sid."
That was just a cool angle, period. The whole, the
Sid
Sid becoming a mantle, and it's a title like the Dread Pirate Roberts.
He's one of my. He's probably my favorite character in the whole game. Is Sid?
Oh yeah, easily. He's probably the best Sid, easily too. Like he's up there, right there with Orlando, man. It's like neck and neck. They're both the Sid offices. I don't think that's coincidental.
Oh my god, so good. His voice actor was nasty too. That voice,
he sounds like he's like 55. He looks like he's 35 though.
And smoked for like his whole life since he was born.
He has 10 of those cigars a day.
He came out of the womb. He's like, "Hey, mom."
Honestly, it's hard to tell whether he was dying of using his summon or if he was dying of lung cancer. It really was hard to tell because really a lot of the that's another writing point, and I'll get to that later. Let's skip that for now. That's another writing point I'd like to touch base on after we cover the villains.
I mean, unless Mage, you have something to add about Kupka. I mean, I hated his like fight, like his final form boss fight, like where he's like the massive like Titan. What is it? Titan Ascended or Titan? Like where he's like super massive.
That was like the best boss fight though.
I hated that boss fight. I thought that boss fight was bored. You go back and watch my Let's Play and like watch that fight. I'm so bored out of my mind.
It's so repetitive. And then the music on the first part, like the rail grinding part, would have been awesome if it hadn't had that techno music.
It was so different from the rest of the game's theme.
It felt so.
But I did like that jarring. Music. Apparently, that music is from is a remix of a Final Fantasy XIV Titan music.
I mean, I can see that.
Like that's just a lot of the other music are remixes of older Final Fantasies. That soundtrack, that one track, is a remix of the Titan from Final Fantasy XIV's theme music.
Yeah.
Which was, I did like the music. I don't think it fit. I liked the sound of it. It sounded awesome. That's why it's one of my favorite fights. The fight was epic to me. And I like that fight a lot.
Yeah, the music didn't bother me so much. It was just the repetitiveness of the fight. And just like, I'm like sitting there going, okay, like this is like going on so long. And like,
He went through like 3 or 4 forms too, and I don't know. I did enjoy the fight, but the music was definitely like offbeat. It was definitely like everything was like classical music, and then we went to techno funk.
The first phases of the Titan fight I thought were really fun, especially that rail grinding part. But I agree with Cheeto. The last phase was just boring and repetitive.
You're talking about when you're falling down the chasm, or falling on the inside of him. You're fighting basically inside his body, and it's basically like the Phoenix fight except with Titan.
Yeah.
Is that the part?
That was okay. That part was okay. I got to the point though with the whole like massive,
huge. Yeah, and it's just a circular battlefield at that point, and it just becomes a slugfest.
Which is that's fine, but it's just like, you know, when he's massively huge and you're on his arm or you're on it, and it's like
that's the rail grinding part, right?
I think so. Yeah,
you're like running up his arms and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
But then you like land on this one piece of earth or whatever. You land on his arm or whatever, and it's like then you're just fighting this like. As I said, it really, I don't know, that fight just kind of, it went on too long. I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done, or at least change in some shape or form. So, okay. Anything else on our boy Kupka?
I don't have anything else. That we didn't really see much of him. He was probably the least expanded upon villain.
Yeah.
But really, what's there really to do there besides a tale of revenge?
They expended upon him more than they did with Barnabas.
Oh yeah, but I felt Barnabas was severely lacking. Like he was like, okay, so the next villain we're going to get to I actually have a positive for the final boss, which is we're going to talk about now, is Ultima. But I feel like Barnabas is like the bad version of what I like about Ultima. So, you know, in these Final Fantasy games, you're supposed to have like a villain that's like almost always present and is always looming. And so like and then you have like a main villain that could be like behind the scenes and you only see every now and then. I felt like Ultima did that well. I thought, like, I know a lot of people say Ultima's kind of bland as a villain, but I'm like, no, I kind of like it because what was Sephiroth? Think about it. Sephiroth in 7 was like, you kind of just, you were chasing Sephiroth like most of the game until you get to the North Crater. Then you finally catch up with him. Yes, you see him a couple times. But that's kind of what this game was. It's like, all that. Barnabas is different. Barnabas was supposed to be more present, a more present villain. And he didn't get there until like a lot
Act
later.
5.
Yeah. Like way later. So that's kind of like, I'm like, I feel like Barnabas
was the present villain until Barnabas became the present villain, which is a weird design choice. Instead of having one present villain with one background villain, they kept like replacing the present villain with a new like almost like an avalanche where you have Benedicta as the present villain, not for very long, right? And you take her out, and I guess Kupka and Barnabas are a little looming in the background. Then Kupka steps in, and there's the whole you're going after Kupka as as Sid II, with Barnabas still kind of looming in the background until you take out Barnabas, who was the main like focus, and the whole time Ultima is the overarching like barely seen it all. Like I don't know, I feel like they stacked it, and it's just too much stacking of present looming villains.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the weird choice with Ultima, though, the one thing that I was like is like, apparently it was like at the end it was like aliens, and like they were fractured, or they were like there were multiple different ones. So like Joshua had like one of them in him, but then there were all these other, like every time they released a crystal, all these like those are all different Ultimas that came out.
What?
Yeah, that
it seemed that like But at first they almost presented it like it was like members of his race, but then you're right, they reveal it to be just like their Ultima clones.
And they like all fuse together to make this ultimate Ultima. You know, it is a bit weird because it's like
it could.
I think a lot of that's like left unsaid and up to interpretation, and it's too much left up to interpretation when it comes to Ultima. I think they don't tell us enough about Ultima, that there's just like wildly different opinions of like what is going on as to the ending, right? Like, I agree. It seems like Ultima is like a hive mind almost, right?
Yeah.
So like it's other bodies, but they're all the same. They're all Ultima, and they're all the one. And they've done this. It's almost they almost pulled a Matrix, where like this has happened over and over again. Here are all these ifrits over the generations of us just bringing ourselves back to life, and the only thing we care about is coming back to life.
Yeah,
and being alive. And you're not supposed to have free will. You're just supposed to die for me.
Yeah, and that's where I think that the Ultima character falters is, you know, is
100%.
kind of, huh?
I agree. I'm agreeing with yes.
So yeah, there is a point where like towards the end where because I was digging, as I said, I was digging the Ultima thing where I was like, okay, this is a main villain that we only see every now and then, and there's something looming. But then like then they talk about all of them coming together into one form, and then it's like, what? Like, and like the Matrix thing, I'm like, no, like I just kind of wanted him to be someone who like was this omnipotent being that was just so arrogant that he, you know, thought that, again, like you said, everybody should die for him, you know, like, I'm not the perfect villain, but I thought the way they presented Ultima was okay in my book. Mage, you got anything to add about Ultima?
Ultima could have been done better. I don't think it's as bad of a villain as some people are trying to make out. But there definitely was room for improvement there, and I absolutely agree with Bearded what you were saying about it's too many layers of the background villain.
Slices.
It'd be like if there was somebody in between Golbez and Zeramus in 4. Like, you don't need that many big reveals of, but there's this other thing. You can
have all these villains, but some of them maybe make them a little less important. Or I think them die at the same time as somebody else, or like
have them like work together more.
Yeah,
like be the threat at the same time.
I think the Ultima should have been different colors for the different elements. You know what I mean? Like Holy would have been white. The dark Ultima would have been dark. You know, the purple-ish look. I really feel like I don't know. They should have done more to differentiate, because I thought it was all one Ultima at one point, and then all of a sudden they reveal it's multiple ones, and I'm like, okay, like that.
Well, the other ones were still asleep. He was the only one awake for a long time.
No, I think no. They said that when they were destroying the crystals, they were waking the Ultimas up because the other
giving them their powers back.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it was all different.
Right into my hand.
Yeah.
Very Bond villainy.
Yeah,
right. I don't know. What did you guys think of the? Unless you have something else to add, but what did you guys think about the final boss fight? Like, since we're talking about Ultima,
the actual fight was a good fight. It didn't. Honestly, it wasn't the hardest fight in the game. It felt kind of like a cakewalk compared to some of the other fights in the game.
Honestly, the hardest fight in the game to me, the one that gave me the most trouble, was Benedicta. Once you started really getting more and more powers, you kind of snowballed your power level and were able to, kind of go through the other subsequent fights easier. Yeah. Maybe the one time I actually wiped was one of the icon fights. It was the preventing Bahamut from firing the Giga Flare part. I'm dreading that on the harder difficulties.
The hardest fight for me was the fight that you're supposed to lose.
Which one is that?
It's against Barnabas. There's one fight that you have to
lose. Yeah.
no matter how much it's like you're just forced into losing that fight, no matter what.
I didn't count that one because you have to lose.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to telegraph it to you to just stop trying.
Yeah. It was tough. It was really hard. I didn't struggle with Benedicta that much. I parried her a lot, like a lot. Mm-hmm. She was the easiest one to sword parry.
I'm trying to think of which
moves a little bit more than some of the other bosses.
I don't know.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We both kept starting to talk at the same time. I didn't mean to.
I'm going to go into host mode. Cheeto, let's hear from you. Then we'll go back on to what Bearded wants to say.
I was just trying to think of which boss fight I had a hard time with, and I think it was just like I'm not the best parrier. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the best dodger. I'm not an action RPGer. I'm not saying that this game is bad because it was action RPG. We'll get into that. Actually, that's one of the topics I want to talk about next. But you know, some of the fights where it's like it's really hard to dodge attacks. God, I'm trying to think of there's one that just really irked me, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't remember now. I think it was one of the like curlier fights. I don't know. I call them cougars, but I know it's not what it is. They're like the cats with the curls. Yeah, there we go.
They're curls.
I think one of those like S rank boss fights was really hard for me just because I could not dodge very well, and you know they move so fast.
Well,
so
good on you for not putting on the accessibility accessory.
Yeah,
though.
For real.
Like it would have been easy for you to just do that, pop on your auto dodge, but you didn't. So way to go at it, man.
Yeah,
I know. I was streaming the whole thing, man. I was not giving in. I'm like, And I mean, I can't remember a place where I wiped more than once. I'm trying to remember. I'd have to go back and watch my Let's Play, but I mean, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't say that there was a place that I wiped a lot. You know what I mean? Like there are definitely places I wiped once, but then I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do and I know how I need to go into this.
There's one that I did wipe several times, and I remember complaining about it to Tick because we were playing it at the same time, and he was a little further than me, so I could talk about things without spoiling them because he was, he was ahead of me, and there was something I was fighting that just kept mollywopping me. And I don't know what it was anymore. I don't remember. I think it was one of the hunts. I don't remember which one, but I was doing a hunt way under level.
Was it the dragon? Was it the level 50 S rank dragon?
I don't know. I know it was a hunt that I really shouldn't have been fighting because it was like fucking 10 levels higher than me. I shouldn't have been doing it. Whatever I was fighting, I wasn't supposed to be fighting it yet.
Well, that's when an RPG's the most fun.
I know.
Where you're not supposed to be.
Like, why don't you go do some other things and come back to it? I was like, because I know I can fucking do this. I've got this.
See, Scarlet, that's what it's about. See, I'm not the only one.
Well, speaking of that, Leanne does say
she says, beat it at this level, I shouldn't be a gamer anymore.
Yeah. What about the S rank that S rank dragon? That thing was a beast. It was, but I beat it first try. I think I just barely beat it first try. But
okay, what level did you first try in that though?
30 some, maybe like high 30s. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I feel like I did it pretty early. Like I think it was not long after it came around. Maybe I don't remember.
Oh, wow. Very well done.
No, I'm probably lying. I'm probably it probably was. I was probably like low 40s, maybe. I don't know, but yeah. So, and I'd have to go back in my Let's Play to see exactly when I did it. But I felt like, and it was I didn't walk through it. Like it was a hard fight. Like don't get me wrong, that was a hard one. That's the one that I felt like should have been the final, the final hunt. Like that dragon. I felt like that one should have been
early. I remember having any trouble with the dragon, but only because I feel like there was another dragon before it that I did struggle with, like a story dragon that fought quite similarly. and I just got used to the pattern where the S rank dragon wasn't as hard because I had already gotten through the other fight, which I did struggle with. Wasn't there a story dragon that was very similar to the S rank dragon?
There's like a story dragon at each mother crystal.
I think that's the one that Molly Watt me was the story dragon. Like I would dodge and then like literally dodge into hits constantly. And I just mistiming every fucking thing and just got wrecked over and over again. Till finally, like, I got the pattern down, and because I had to get it down so well, that pattern worked for the S-rank dragon almost perfectly.
I just got overwhelmed by the pure amount of bad on the ground to dodge. Like, until I got really good at the dodging into the successive meteors coming down. But, like, I think that was the... Like, but I first tried it, I was very low level. I was somewhere in the high 30s, and he mollywomped me, and so I couldn't do it at low level. And I'm like, okay, then I'm gonna get gear. And I set a gear goal. I didn't care about level anymore. I'm like, I need this gear. So I was so high level by the time I got the gear, I just face rolled him. It's like I tried it. Took a lot of damage, came in one more time and was nailing, dodging the bat on the ground. It was just, then it just clicked, lights were blinking, and he went down. But no, the end fight could have been harder, I feel like, but at the same time, your power level is snowballed by getting, all your different abilities.
Yeah.
Leanne says that thing ate your face.
Yes, it did indeed eat my face.
Yeah. All right. Well, since we start,
I may or may not have been talking that good shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. we do tend to do those sorts of things, don't we?
Oh yeah. I got this.
I was like, "Hey, watch this, honey. Watch.
I got this." Is it's like chomping on your femur by the end.
Made Torgal cry.
Oh God! All right, so, so I just want to put out there. I don't know if you guys want to, since we started talking about the hunts. I did enjoy the hunt system. I didn't.
I was so glad they brought it back.
Is that? I mean, it was in 15.
I know, but it wasn't as good in 15.
I mean, what you didn't like the fact you could go to a diner and pick up a hunt? That's what they did.
No, it's not that. I just feel like a lot of the hunts were underwhelming in 15. Not like 12. 12 had the best hunts.
Oh yeah.
12 was number one in hunts until 16 came around. And I think 16 did just as good of a job having the Moogle as like the hunt giver and like the person you talk to. It's not the same Moogle, but it was totally a 12 reference.
They
really nailed the hunts in 16.
They missed the trick though. That Moogle could have been named Mont Blanc, and then
it could have been. Yeah, it could have been
because that's the Moogle from the hunting guild in 12. So
it's also I really felt like Moogle that joins your party in Tactics 2. Tactics Advance 2.
Yeah, I think
Moogle
so.
That joins your one of those two. The Moogle that joins your party is named Mont Blanc after the Moogle in Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah, because I think Tactics Advance came out after 12, right? Tactics Advance 2 came out after 12.
It did, but it was more like based in the 12 world almost.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
No, like I was just saying, it was based in it, but also not. It was very weird. Like, they're parallel, but they're really close to being the exact same world.
Yeah. So let's just, I can't believe we're already 45. So this is what I was afraid of. We'd get in here, we'd start talking, and then I'd lose track of time.
Multiple parts, probably.
Me and Tick had to do multiple parts when we talked about this. Like, it is a lot to go over.
That's a lot of game.
Yeah.
A lot of game, especially if you do all the optional
It took me way
content.
longer to beat it than I thought it would. I'll be honest. There was a lot of game.
But you definitely feel like you've completed it. Like when you get through your first playthrough, I felt like I completed the game. Like there wasn't much left over when I was done. Like I did all the side quests before the final mission. Like, like I did, so I really don't, there's no post game, like, except for Final Fantasy mode. And there is a reason
why. Post game. There is some stuff that can happen post game, but like us, the way we play games, the way we play Final Fantasy games, just because of the way we've grown up playing these types of games, we do everything before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a fucking side quest, we fucking do it. And we don't move the story forward until all those fucking side quests are done. Because that's the way we play video games.
To quote the Red Mage...
Say what?
To quote the Red Mage, side quests account for 75% of your total experience points.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think new players probably may or may not do that as well, because I have a problem with a game fetch questing you to death, and I feel like a lot of the side quests, while interesting because they had a lot of writing behind them, were still basic fetch quests. Which is fine.
Was it 3 of everything?
So what?
It was 3 of every item you ever have to get. It was 3 of them.
Right.
It was never a different quantity. It was always 3 of whatever. Get 3 flowers. Get 3 monster balls.
Yep.
Well, I think that's what kind of I think that's where the game did kind of lack in some, like it some of its RPG elements were bare bones. Like they didn't really diversify, because like I honestly feel like some of them were like, well, probably only half the people are going to do side quests anyway, so we'll put effort in. But like like
there was a lot of effort put into the writing of the side quests, but like
no, but like of the actual
side quests are not fetch quests, right?
They're poorly designed. They were greatly written and expanded the lore of the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of the side characters.
Oh my God.
I love the Quentin one. I loved.
His was great. His was fucking great.
Yeah, but they were greatly written. But aside from the one fight where you storm the place,
Torgal's made me cry, like ball cry. Like Torgal's final side quest made me like just fucking weep. It was my God.
I went back and did it a second time so Leanne could see it, because I did side quests when she would be asleep and did main scenario stuff, waited until we could play together and she could see the main scenario. But I realized that had too much bearing on their relationship, and I was like, no, I've got to show her that one.
Oh yeah,
one. I mean, it hit me hard too.
It was like, stab you again.
And and I just lost Rusty recently, so I mean, it really got me that first night.
R.I.P. Rusty, man, we miss him.
We missed a big head. Sid keeps things interesting, though.
Yeah, they do. All Sids do. All Sids, game and not game Sids, I'll keep it things interesting.
I'm gonna gripe about this now because it is part of the side quest thing, sort of. So the party system.
Oh, yeah, I'll get into that.
Okay. I feel like they just were not able to commit to some things, right? Like you don't have a party the entire fucking game. Not really. Nobody joins your party, right? They don't say this person joined the party. This person left the party. It just doesn't fucking happen.
They say it. They say it. Yeah. They say the party makeup has changed.
Okay. But then, like, right before the end, you finish a few side quests, and Joshua has joined the party, and it does, like, the classic has joined the party with Joshua.
Until the origin or whatever. Yeah, I actually
until the last mission.
Yeah.
Where, like, it felt like they joined the party just for you to leave them all fucking behind. Except for Joshua.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I feel like that at a certain, I get it, like in the beginning that you're by yourself and everything, but I feel like at a certain point, you should have been able to change people in and out, you know, in like, even if it's just in between the story, like the story stuff, you know what I mean? Like when you're doing side quests and stuff, you should be able to pick 2 party members.
It really stood out to me that they really didn't have anybody like it say this person has joined the party until like the very end. Like that was like a huge thing for me that when it happened, I was like, why did this happen all of a sudden at the end of the game? This is not how this has been handled the entire fucking game. Then all of a sudden they joined the party.
I don't disagree. Yeah, no, actually the party system was one of my other gripes is like, I don't understand why, as I said, even if it was just between main story arcs, like, yes, if you have your main story and you have to take certain people with you, fine, whatever. But like in between the story arcs, as long as the person's available, like I feel like when you're doing side quests or hunts, you should be able to just pick Jill and pick Gav, or pick Dion and pick, you know, like, you know, whatever. And obviously Torgal's always with you because it's kind of like Shadow and Interceptor. But it's like, yeah, I really feel like that they missed that. Like in between the big story arcs, you could have just started taking characters, even Sid, you know, before he died, you know, throw him in, you know, if you're doing stuff in between main story, just, you know, you can pick Sid and Jill, or Sid and Goots. You know, Goots just stands there and fights and just throws items at you for free. Like that's the benefit of taking him.
I do appreciate.
He's like a chemist.
I noticed this when we were playing the demo. But I do appreciate in the pause menu and in the save menu having the little 8-bit characters for everybody who is with you. Because they do have moments of like feeling like you have a party, even if you can't control them.
Mm-hmm.
My only gripe was just them waiting till the end to have this classic, this person has joined the party thing, and it really, you didn't get anything for them officially joining the party.
I feel like if they waited that long to do it, they should have just not done it, because it makes the omission glaring. It makes it feel bad that it makes you finally feel bad that there wasn't like those moments, like you said.
Okay,
I swore it told you like when Sir Wedge joined you, but
it may have done that at the beginning of the game. Actually, it may have, when you created a party to go with Biggs and Wedge to take out the Marlboro.
I love how we call them Biggs and Wedge, and they're not actually Biggs.
I will not call them anything else. They are Biggs and Wedge.
I know that when I'm doing my playthrough, I call Sir Wade, I call him Sir Wedge.
Yeah, they're Sir Biggs and Wedge. Fuck you, Yoshi P. You don't get to take that away from us. Like, I like a lot of the stuff you did with this game, but they are Sir Biggs and Wedge. Like, absolutely not.
You have mauled our childhood. Will you stop it?
No, they're the Biggs and Wedge standard. I don't know why they didn't just call them that. Like,
listen, there's going to be mods out when this comes out on PC. There's going to be mods that are just
change their name to Sir Biggs and Wedge throughout the whole fucking game.
They're going to do mods. They're going to be the Sir Biggs and Wedge mod, and they're just going to change their names.
The chill Italian Senate mod.
Yep. Since we started on that topic, unless you guys want to, obvious missing staples is kind of one of the topics I did want to bring up.
I wanted to just real quick say that this is the one that I think is going to be the unpopular opinion. I like that we didn't have to worry about managing the party members.
I don't disagree. I don't hate that there's no management of the party. I don't.
You couldn't do the kind of combat that they wanted to do and have us have to be concerned about keeping them alive, because you just can't track them with all the gorgeous particle effects and spell effects and
not without having
happening constantly.
Final Fantasy VII thing where you could pause time. That's the only way it could have been done, and then it ruins the moment.
Yeah, you hit that weird, awkward hybrid place that they were trying to avoid doing. So I'm glad they realized it had to be an all or nothing. They had to if they were gonna do this Devil May Cry combat, they had to make it where you focus on playing that combat. You play your best game as Clive. You've got your hot commands for Torgal, and just let everybody else do their own thing. I mean, we didn't you don't directly control or give orders in 15, right? You just have to worry about picking them up.
Well,
but I mean, took that away too. Like, don't make me have to worry about them at all. Let me worry about dodging the 10 things you've got, like, about to blast me with ranged attacks, and I've got to watch my HUD and start doing my dodge, and then I dodge my way into position. I do my Phoenix Flames, and I wipe the whole fight, and I feel great.
I actually have a theory about that I've said before, but I haven't said a lot. Do y'all know about the infamous after the fact? They didn't credit them in the credits, as far as that I could tell, as far as the opening cut sequences or anything. But after the fact, they did announce that Platinum Games had a hand in helping at the 11th hour. Platinum Games came in at the end of production to help them. And my theory is they had a combat system that was broken and didn't work and wasn't fun. And they brought Platinum Games in to overhaul it and make it the combat system that we have now. Because it is a very, very extremely Platinum Games combat system.
I don't know. What games does Platinum Games do?
They did they do Bayonetta? They did what's that game? The Metal Gear Solid Rising.
Okay. Well, I've never played any of those games, so
yeah, they also did Bayonetta. They did several things.
Devil May Cry, because that's the
famous for beat 'em ups. No, I think some of their team came from Capcom, left Capcom and worked on Devil May Cry, but they did not produce Devil May Cry.
Gotcha. Just regarding the party system, really quick before we move on, I actually, Mage, I don't disagree with you. I just wanted the ability to switch out in the non-story times who I bring out of three, just three people. Like if I wanted to bring Dion with me and Gav, or just even if it's just an aesthetic switch.
Yeah,
but it'd be a slippery slope, because if you get that ability, then you start missing the ability to micromanage them and control their growth and their equips, and it makes you start missing those things. I think that the more I feel like they very much had to do something completely different, and I applaud them for it. And I feel like people forget. I've said it before to you guys off air. I'm going to say it here on air. The only constant in the Final Fantasy series is change. There's nothing else that's common between all 16 mainline entries other than the fact that they are vastly different from each other.
Yeah. I still feel a lot of homage in this game too.
Oh yeah, it is very much a Final Fantasy game, despite what some people have said.
Well, and yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the other topics I wanted to bring up is this a Final Fantasy game? And my opinion is wholeheartedly yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, but there's people that's it's not a Final Fantasy game.
How is it not a Final Fantasy game?
Well,
tell me.
How do you
I would love to hear this explanation.
How do you define?
Go ahead, Mage. No, go ahead. You're going to pretty much say what I'm going to say.
How do you define what Final Fantasy is, other than it's a game that Square Enix puts out that says Final Fantasy on the box?
Because honestly, the Final Fantasies have been so diverse since the very beginning.
And honestly, I feel like there's always some older generation for every one of these games that's it wasn't like the last one.
It's every time it's been like that.
It's every single fucking time.
Every single time.
It's still a Final Fantasy game. It still has a lot of the cornerstones of Final Fantasy in it. Even if it doesn't stand out, my biggest moment of this is a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it when people get into that argument. And I know once or twice online, I haven't gotten into an argument with people, but it's been they're like, how is it a Final Fantasy? And I'll be like, well, Square Enix made it, and there's chocobos.
Even chocobo. even chocobos weren't in the first 2 entries.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
so
like
so is it the job class system that makes it Final Fantasy? You can't
Because
say that
2
because
didn't have a
this
job class
hasn't.
system.
Yes.
and
There's
I
been
hate to
many
use
games
2 as an example, but
there's a lot of stuff that, like, bless them for trying something different. They could have made a clone of the first game and sold gangbusters. That would have been the safe thing to do to make
it's
money,
true.
but they didn't. They tried something different. It fell flat on its face, but by gods, they tried.
They did. I mean,
in the later versions, they fixed that version a lot over the years. There are good versions of that game that
I want to play the PR of it.
So what?
I want to play the pixel remaster of it.
No, it's a great version of that game.
I want to.
It's like, such a good version.
2's got a great plot.
Yeah, it's such a good version of that game. There's no ability down at all. And Ultima works as originally intended.
What?
They fixed the formula for Ultima.
what was the issue with Ultima? I don't remember. I know there was an issue with it, but
it just didn't do the damage they wanted it to do.
Fucking 10 damage. It's supposed to be the best magic in the game, and sometimes it would do 10 fucking damage.
Yeah, there was some bug in the code for its damage formula.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, wholeheartedly, like, I think everybody on this panel agrees. It's a Final Fantasy, like, the weenie heads need to get over it. It is a Final Fantasy. You can't.
What I was gonna say is one of my most, like, favorite parts of the game where I was really like, this is a fucking Final Fantasy game. This is like the best homage they could pay in the entire fucking game, is when they were defending the ship
Phoenix Gate
from the Akashic. Okay. And like, they've locked themselves, and Mid is trying to start the ship, and they're like, here they come. And fucking Clive and Joshua and Uncle Byron and Torgal, and they all fucking line up in that straight line, and all the enemies come in, and the enemies have like that staggered, Final Fantasy five person mob like set up, and then it's just that one moment where it's like, this is amazing.
That's the Avengers moment. That is the Avengers moment of that game, because after that, I don't think everybody's together in one place again, really. Like in combat scenario, like that's your Avengers moment.
Just straight up, like, looked like it was like turn-based mode for a minute. Like, they were just positioned and set up very like reminiscent of like classic turn-based stances facing off.
I didn't catch that in the moment, but you're right. Now that I think I can see that scene in my head, you're absolutely right.
And they're all like standing there, like, ready to go.
To me, the biggest homage, maybe besides having just the Spoony Bard in the one tavern, was probably the moment when you're defending Phoenix Gate and the demo portion, and they does that cut up, and the dragoons just standing on the spire in front of the moon, just like the cover of 4, just like the cover of 4. Oh my god! Oh my god!
There were so many good Lonely Island song. There were really good moments all throughout the game.
Listen, my favorite part. Oh, go ahead.
I don't want to get off on some of my gripes and make it sound like I didn't like the game, because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, but because it was so good for so many story beats and so many parts, the things that are bad look really fucking bad, because they did so well everywhere else.
My favorite part is just when, and it's not even really a Final Fantasy thing. My favorite part is when Hippocrates just said that Torgal likes to dig in his nuts.
I like Hippocrates. I like the setup for Hippocrates and leveling up Hippocrates like that. I like that. I did like that.
You could level up Hippocrates?
I never did that.
But
I didn't do most of the hideaway stuff. Like,
really?
I have a lot of content to do still.
Wait, you can level up Hippocrates?
It was all aesthetic. It was all aesthetic. It was, you don't take him with you. He doesn't have like a level that, like a combat level. It was all aesthetic. When you would go through, Did y'all talk to him at all outside of when you had to for story?
Unless the side quest sent me there, I didn't go in there.
God fucking damn it!
I don't think I did either.
Now I have something I can do
on your own, and you sit down and have you tell him your story, right? You tell him it basically acts like you're sitting down and telling him all the things you did, and he writes an almanac about it. And he has a experience meter of that builds based off of how much of the story you've gone through, and I think it gets up to level 5 or so. And he's basically the bestiary. You can go through and see items on all the bosses and stuff on all the enemies, and you can go back and read. You know how when you're watching the video and you hit the middle PlayStation button to get the little blurbs here and there about the characters that are in the video.
Active time lore.
Yeah, if you miss any of it, when you talk to him, you can go back and check any of the active time lore you missed. He has I
had no idea
a record of all the active time lores.
And that gives a lore explanation of how Joshua was able to write the book that you see at the very ending.
Listen,
that is how he knows the things that he wasn't there for.
Yeah, you're supposed to talk to him a lot. He has a whole level. So he has his own 8-bit character that pops up, and he gets experience. And then
he's got a sprite. He's got his own sprite.
Oh my god!
And levels up and everything. It was such a pleasing aesthetic thing.
Even in the
if you just go load your last save file and go talk to him, you'll get all the experience from the whole game at one time.
This is the equivalent of us back in when we were in school and we're all sitting there at the lunch table talking about what we did in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
We're we didn't know we could talk to Hippocrates. What are you talking about? He can level up.
What do you mean there's this old man in a cave who tells you how many thoughts you fought?
Yeah.
What could that have to do with anything?
Oh my god.
What do you mean there's an island with the ultimate materia?
So I expressed my discontent with Tick about how, and I touched on this earlier. I didn't fully realize my thought because I get off on tangents really easily.
Yeah, we're all there.
But I feel like there was a lack of hidden content, of secret content in this game.
Agreed.
It was there, but it wasn't. I don't even think I realized how much of it was there. I think that there's more than I originally thought. Because again, you guys played through the whole fucking game and had no idea that whole Hippocrates thing could happen. Right? So they don't really tell you. I just happened to talk to him. So I got the bar and I was like, oh, well, this is the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of the fucking game. Right? But because you guys never had that moment of seeing it happen, y'all didn't. And I found that this is something that Tick didn't find until his New Game Plus, because he thought that it was just something that would unlock in New Game Plus. But the challenges, the Titan challenges, the little pedestals that are placed throughout the game, he missed those completely. Because after he visited them a couple of times and saw that he couldn't do anything with them, he just assumed it was a New Game Plus thing and didn't do them until his second playthrough.
I mean, I knew because I did walk up to one of them. I think the one by Martha's Rest. I think I walked up to that one. I saw it was glowing.
The first one that activates.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And I just didn't do it because I was just meh. I actively decided, I'm I'm not going to do this right now.
Yeah, and you could totally miss out on that and not even realize it. There are some little... Did you guys find there's a random item on the ground that you can pick up that has a puzzle in its flavor text that will tell you where buried treasure is, and there is absolutely no waypoints for it whatsoever.
No. Where's this item
I don't remember where I picked it up. I picked it up. It was called a little treasure map or something. Right? It was literally just a glowing item on the ground, you would normally pick it up,
It's at that fairy place in Rosaria, I think.
Maybe. I don't know where I got the treasure map from.
I found it, but I wasn't sure what to do with it.
And I happened to read the flavor text, and it tells you to go to this one place through like description in the flavor text, and there's buried treasure there that you can sell for a lot of gil. And it's just tiny little secrets, right? They're just tiny little secrets that, and I'm sure there may be some that I missed that I don't know about. Go ahead.
See, I think that the quality of life improvements, all those features, all the waypoints, and it telling you that being a hub to go and get all your side quests and everything like that, like kind of gives a false sense of security about not needing to search for stuff like that.
Yeah. And I scoured every nook and cranny of the maps that I could.
I alternated between this go story mode to get to a next stopping point in the main plot, and then like try to clear out side quests.
Right.
And so like some of my
like walking the edges to clear the map out.
You got to get the Here Be Rosfields achievement. It's just such a cool name. Here Be Rosfields.
I love the family, the Rosfield family. I do.
It's so dynamic. Like it's so dramatic.
I love the dad. I love Joshua. I love
Duke Elwin's the fucking shit.
He was so good.
Like you find out in the side quest that he was gonna emancipate all the bearers.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, what a giga Chad. Like he knows that it's gonna like put the kingdom through shit, and it's gonna take like a couple of lifetimes to like see this through. It shows foresight, and just that's a ruler,
dude. Yeah. And speaking of the way they treat the bearers, I mean, they treated them like absolute dog shit. And I mean, I get it, like
all the time.
Yeah, it was rough, kind of with some of those side quests where I'm like, wow, like this oppression is just insane. But you know what? It's happened in real life. Like, let's be real. Like, it's happened all over the world in real life. So it's like, you know, sometimes you kind of want to side with Ultima and be like, you know what? Humans really are the problem.
Man.
All right, gentlemen. No, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the way bearers makes the plight of the bearers makes a really good example of one of the things I think is a strength of the game, and how much it shows instead of telling you things. There easily could have been heavy-handed moments where, oh yeah, things are terrible for bearers. It's like this, and this, and some person says that as expository dialogue. Instead, we see the scene where at the beginning where the bear drops the apple down the stairs and it bumps into Clive, and they're terrified that they're going to be punished for some reason, and they're scared to even speak to him. And just the way they act, and then the response of the holder, they never say explicitly, yeah, I own that person, but you can tell. You as the player can tell, and they've shown you something about the world without assuming that you're so dumb that you have to be explicitly told. And that's just one case study of something that the game did constantly. You can dig into those super expository bits by pressing your middle button and going to active time lore, by going and talking to Vivian between missions and doing the state of the realm talks. You can dig into all that stuff and find all this deep world building they put in. But as far as just going through the general narrative goes, it presents to you a pretty full feeling world that it achieves by mostly showing and not telling.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact that this game did not treat its audience like, like 13-year-olds anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Final Fantasy fans have grown up. It's about time our game grew up too.
Yeah, and I think that's what 15 was missing. Well, 15 was missing a lot, but I feel like that maturity is kind of what 15 was missing, and they really went all in on it in this one.
15 was just the first Kingdom Hearts 3.
With the all in statement, because I feel like they could have went more in. They were very much. It's very popular to do the Game of Thrones kind of gritty. Everybody's a slave. Everybody's like it. It's a very gritty Game of Thrones feeling, but I don't feel like they committed as well as they could have. I feel like they had moments that were very gritty, but the overall feel wasn't like grit all the time. It
That
felt
would
like
have been overbearing, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I don't feel like they committed like full on to being like full grit is what I'm saying. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because they could have went full on Game of Thrones and there was nudity and fucking everywhere. Right.
I mean, the inclusion of like the swearing. I mean, there was
things and like it just like real like violence all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job at implementing in more, more blood. Because let's be real, in mainline Final Fantasy, there's not been a thing with this kind of. And then the way that they use the F word is like,
except for Type 0. Type 0 was pretty bloody.
Yeah, Type 0 was, but that's not a mainline. I get it. It's still a Final Fantasy, but I mean, I do agree. Like, but like the way they just casually threw the F word in there, which I'm fine with. But I mean, normal. I mean, that wouldn't even be. I mean, except for maybe 7. Did Baird ever drop the F-bomb in 7?
I feel like this is the bloodiest and the hardest it's been since the bloody hallway of 7.
The bloody hallway. You mean like
it's a Shinra building?
Yeah,
where
building.
Sephiroth
okay.
Sephiroth
just sliced and diced all the soldiers in that one hallway. There's just blood fucking everywhere.
So you said that the bloody hallway and that creepy music instantly played in my head.
Yeah.
It's like no, that moment I was sitting in this room right there. Actually, the TV was right there with my place. Yeah.
And I think before that, the grittiest it had gotten was the poisoning of the well or the river of the drinking water.
Doma Castle. Yeah.
We haven't had like super gritty moments like those as often.
I mean, you had the Dreadnought attack in 2.
Which, I mean, those were all victims though of the time. Like, I mean, yeah, you could make those moments very like dark and gritty and like, gory, but no, I get what you're saying, but I think this was kind of like a step in the right direction to where like,
oh yeah.
I just don't feel like Final Fantasy. I don't feel like needs full on nudity. I really don't feel like it needs it.
I don't.
I didn't say it did. I feel like there's more they could do. I think that they can take it a step further.
I mean, you saw Barnabas butt.
But I think, again, going full on Game of Thrones would be a mistake for Final Fantasy.
But see, if they were going to get that comparison, no matter what level of grit and realism they put into the fantasy, any amount that they were going to get that comparison. And is everything that comes out that's a gritty fantasy from now on going to be just compared to Game of Thrones?
Probably for a very long time, yes.
It's 100%. Just that in the zeitgeist. I mean, there was gritty fantasy before.
I know. I agree. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan. So, I mean, like, when people compare it to Game of Thrones, I'm like, oh, instead of, oh, like.
It's very much being used as a pejorative, I feel like. But I feel like
kind of the standard for gritty fantasy now. It really is. Like, it's just, and not saying that I like Game of Thrones. I didn't finish it. I don't get into, like, children being, like, brutally murdered or burned at a stake by their fathers. That fucks with me in all the wrong places. Like,
it actually happened in real life. They used to do that stuff back in the day.
I don't need to see it.
It's shock value just to show. It's just to get people talking and get you to watch due to shock value. I feel the way about Game of Thrones is the way Cheeto is about the boys.
Like the standard for gritty dark fantasy because so many people know it, and it was visually done well. Like, it was done, like, whether I like it or not has no bearing on how well the story was written, first off, by the author who wrote a really hard-hitting, compelling story, but also the videography in the Game of Thrones series up until, I guess, the end, a lot of people were unhappy with the end, was pretty top-notch. So it's kind of become this, like, benchmark. It's the new benchmark.
it seems weird. Like there's people who make the comparison in a positive way, but it seems to me the overwhelming majority, when I see people make the comparison, they're using the comparison pejoratively, and that just feels like a lazy comparison to me. It's like, can you not come up with a better shorthand for over the top, needlessly dark fantasy than Game of Thrones?
Berserk, but I mean, not everybody knows that reference.
Yes. So I guess that does make the first one a better shorthand. Yeah,
I can, but Game of Thrones is the easiest one to reference because everybody fucking knows it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Just in the zeitgeist to the point where they talk about it on sitcoms. I know more about it from Adam Scott's character talking about it on Parks and Rec than I do from watching it. I watched like most of the first season. Just couldn't get into it. I feel like
that is probably the reason why it has become so commonplace, and like you said, a pejorative argument, is because it is so well known. It is the easiest way to get your point across.
Doesn't mean it's the best. It's just the easiest. But yeah.
Well, I mean, good shit posting is easy to do.
Yeah,
it's really easy to like put a shitty opinion out there to like poke the hornet's nest. I mean, it can be fun.
Listen,
it can be fun.
Wuhan is stronger than Kid
some
Buu.
People just need to be pissed off. Like when someone's that much of a like, I do really like. Do you guys remember what I did to that one kid that I made him leave the group?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my god. Leanne
to this day,
I was about to dogpile, and Leanne wouldn't let me. Leanne wouldn't let me dogpile. He messaged me down the line.
I think I might have made him throw up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, and here we go.
He was so glad he lost the ability to spell.
Bearded's laugh just makes me laugh.
Oh man, we haven't done enough content together. We got to start doing more content together again. This has been a blast.
Oh man.
So, but that does bring up a good point. We're getting to almost about the hour-and-a-half mark. So there is so much more to talk about. So I think maybe we said this before we went live, or maybe we said it on here, but maybe we'll do like a part 2. Before we go, I do want to talk about the ending of the game, and I have some thoughts on that. And then I think maybe if we do a part 2 of this or an addendum to this later on, like we can talk specific characters. And I do want to talk about the summons more than just, that one's cool. Like I want to really dig into the summons and some of that summon lore that we got in the game. But I feel like we'll be here, as as Bearded said, like we'll be here all night.
Yeah, I can't help but get us off on certain. I'm a tangent.
No. This was fantastic. I just want to talk about the end really quick before we wrap up here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so okay. I'm gonna give my
start.
I'll start.
Oh wait. Does anybody have anything good to say?
It had to end sadly. It would have been super inconsistent with the rest of the tone of the game had it had a happy ending.
Okay, wait. Don't completely agree, but also I'm not happy with the ending either.
I'm not happy with it, but it had to be like that. Like
I don't think it had to be.
I think it could have been. I
feel like we could have had a Final Fantasy X ending here, and I can explain that in a second after Bearded.
That was super fucking sad. We don't need a super sad. We already had so many sad moments throughout the whole game. I really feel like,
that's what life is a series.
I'm like on the edge of
endings.
I know we're about to spoil the ending, but I didn't want to like just drop the ball on the actual end yet.
No, I'll drop the ball.
Put spoilers in the title, but
if spoilers is in the title.
If you haven't beaten this game, leave. Leave if you haven't.
Yes, if you have not beaten this game, leave. But I'm going to drop the spoiler right here. Is that all the people that go to the origin fucking die, and I'm like, huh?
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh,
finish what you're saying.
I just like Dion. He died. Well, supposedly, as I said, we didn't, except for Joshua, we really didn't see Clive or Dion die per se. But it's just like, Dion supposedly dead. Joshua dead. He's deader than a doornail. Like he's dead twice over now. Clive on the beach as a stone, like he's like a gargoyle on the shore. Apparently,
the curse got him. He
exactly,
too
but
much ether.
But so that's my thing. That was like, why the hell? Like I thought Clive was immune to that. Like I thought he was immune to all that because he used summoning throughout the whole game. Well,
apparently
he channeled the power of all 8 at once.
Well, I still think that it didn't need to end that way. I think we could have had a Final Fantasy X ending where, like when he's fighting Ultima and he's using all the other summons to beat Ultima's versions of those summons. I really feel like it could have just been like a Final Fantasy X thing where, like, as he was burning through them, like he was getting rid of them. Like they were just, the power was going away because if Ultima wasn't Ultima like the source of the summons powers. So as Clive was defeating the summons, the summons on Ultima's side, he was getting rid of the summons in the real world. And I felt like we could have had an ending like that. Like I was okay with Joshua dying. Like I felt that was tragic enough because you got him back and then he died again and he sacrificed himself by holding Ultima for so long. I felt like that one was appropriate. Dion, I think he should have survived. Like I really do.
I fucking liked Dion and his boyfriend and their adoptive daughter so fucking much, and I swear to God, there's no reason Dion had to fucking die.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been so inconsistent.
No, you can have Joshua die and it be tragic, and that's enough.
Joshua's death is tragic enough.
Yeah, his second death, and you can leave it open-ended for him to come back because Joshua gave him. Yeah, well, no, but he gave
fucking Phoenix.
No, but he gave the Phoenix to Clive. That's when he died.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, he couldn't come back because he gave the Phoenix away. So that would have been the hint. Hey, he's really dead. Like he's dead this time.
I mean, the first time I was like, there's some Phoenix bullshit going on here. That's what I said to Leanne.
I don't think so.
I meant the first time, like at the demo.
That
was my exact terminology. Some Phoenix bullshit.
After playing the demo, me and Take were having a conversation, and we were disagreeing on a lot of things about how we thought the game was going to go after that. And then we were like, but there is one thing we can fucking agree on. And the other one was like, Joshua's not fucking dead. And I was like, you bet your ass he's not fucking dead.
Cheeto. You were like, no, man, he's dead. He killed his brother. What the hell? I hate this.
I did?
And I'm like, he did. Yeah. And I'm like, no, man.
There's no way he's fucking dead. At that moment, I was like, there's absolutely no fucking way he's dead.
I mean, I thought it was maybe I did. I don't know. I remember thinking that it was super dark because here's the thing. I knew that Ifrit was Clive. Like some people didn't know Ifrit was Clive when the demo came out, and I was like, no. I said like dude, literally like Clive killed Joshua. Like it's not like some summon came and killed him. Clive is Ifrit, and like some people were like, no. How is he seen from from the outside? I'm like, no. I said the way it was framed, it was like. Oh, yeah. Like you didn't see Clive yelling at Ifrit. He was yelling from the inside of Ifrit, to stop.
I thought it was dumb. Well, not dumb.
See, I read it as he was inside, but he wasn't in control of it.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said with like having that spoiler moment of like the whole time Clive was Ifrit the whole time, right? Like the way they presented it, if you hadn't watched any of the trailers and you didn't see any of the what's the word, the ads or the clips or any of that, if you had no introduction to this game whatsoever and you played through the game, you would get to the point of Clive is Ifrit and it would be a ball drop moment, like a mic drop, like, oh my God, Clive was Ifrit the whole time, because that's the way they presented it in the story. But because of all like the clips and the trailers and like we all knew going in that Clive was Ifrit.
I couldn't understand why people didn't
decision.
know.
That's just a poor marketing decision.
It is. It was very poor because it was like that would have been a huge like, oh my god moment if nobody knew that Clive was a freak the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that would have been. I can't think of
another
I hate classic.
Trailers.
Huh?
It's why I hate anything more than a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
You know what? Mage is just a tornado. He hates trailers.
Okay. I agree. Trailers are terrible.
Wow. Good one. That was
good. Funny. I'm funny, Bearded. You know it.
That's funny.
Sometimes.
That is funny. That is classic Cheeto boomer humor. I love
it.
Boomer humor. Get the hell out of here.
I mean...
I get to rip on you. You're a whole 2 years older than me. I get to rip on you.
Yeah, I just and the whole thing of Clive leaving Jill behind. Like if Jill was a real person, I'd be okay because I'd be like, oh well, now I get to go get the Mac on Jill. But I'm like, no, I wanted them to have a happily ever after. I wanted that.
Yeah, I wanted Clive and Jill to have a happily ever after together. Like I did. I did want that. I like them both. I've had enough of the male protagonist and the female protagonist finding love and then immediately being split apart by the.
I mean, they did it in 8. They did it in 10. They did it in.
They didn't do it in 8.
Huh? Yeah, they did it in 8.
What are you talking about?
Final Fantasy 8.
Which characters are you talking about?
Renoa and Squall.
How did they split them up at the end?
Didn't they split? Like, wasn't there like some kind of dreamscape or whatever? And then they.
Oh yeah, but they made it out in the end. They were on the.
They got out of the loop eventually.
Yeah, they did. They got out of the. There was the very last scene is them on the balcony at a party in the garden, celebrating their victory and the moving forward of time without Ultimecia.
Oh, okay. Well, I've only beaten. I think I've beaten 8 like twice. So, and I usually forge it out of my brain. I always thought that one was one where they never got together. But anyway, I wanted a feel good ending like 9. I wanted a feel good ending like 9. Like that last scene of Zidane and Garnet like Zidane just showing up and Garnet like losing her shit and just plowing through the crowd to get to Zidane. You know, like
yeah,
I love
those are some pretty feel good moments that I appreciate a lot sometimes. And with as many, so I didn't know a good way to say this, and Tick said it best. It feels like that ending was not earned. Everything leading up to that moment.
Wait, in 9 or in 16?
In 16.
Oh, okay.
In 16. The moment of Clive's deaths and giving up and Dion's death. Maybe Joshua's death was a little earned. I would be okay with that one, and it would still be sad, and it would be enough for me. But like going into that final battle, the way the side quests led into each other, the way the writing was, there was nothing like telegraphing the reactions of. I'm saying this wrong. So like Clive, Joshua, and Dion, the way they were approaching this was, we are going to fucking win. We're not afraid. We are not facing an immovable object. Like, I felt up until that point, they thought that they were coming home. Like, they really believed it. It was the way the writing felt to me. Tick said the same thing. Like, it just, leading up to it, it felt very much like, but that's just from their perspective, the things they were saying. Whereas, like, opposite of them, Gav, Jill, and everyone else were very much like, y'all are going away to die. It was very opposite sides of, like, conflicting storytelling where, like,
they were
putting
having
on
the brave face.
Say what?
They were putting on the brave face. They
Maybe
didn't think for a second inside. No, I got the complete feeling that it was the brave face.
And
like,
it's because
Dion barely put it on. Like, Dion didn't even put on the brave
face. Oh, yeah.
He
Dion
knew
was
he was going
planning on
death.
suiciding, like, up until then. Dion had definitely decided on suicide.
Well, he thought that was the only way he could redeem himself.
Sure.
Which is, his plot was great.
Oh, yeah. I love Dion's story. And it's super sad. And I just wanted a happy ending for him and the little girl and his husband.
And Terrence, yeah.
Yeah, I mean but that's what I'm saying is like, okay, I get Joshua. Like I get Joshua dying again. It kind of brings everything full circle. That was my thing, is that I thought the death of Joshua brought everything full circle. And I thought it was good. I mean, like I feel like that, yeah, at the end of the game, like Clive should have been depowered. Like that, I think it should have been a Final Fantasy.
100%, yes.
But I don't think I mean, and yes, if you want to take like one of his hands or something, like if you want to like, like one of his hands starts to turn to stone and like Ultima chops it off, or maybe even like maybe Dion chops it off or something, just to kind of stop the curse or whatever. But then he burns through all of it. He, like when he defeats Ultima, that gets rid of the curse. And on top of that, we don't even see a resolution to the not the wither.
There. I don't think it was the beginning of Ultima that got rid of the curse. He very much used all of his remaining power to like save everyone. Like I really feel like that's the way that story. That's just to me because again, they did a really good job of showing, not telling, but they did it so well and so much that it leaves a lot up to interpretation. And I feel like he saved everyone. Like he used his power to put the people out in the world that were turning to stone to help fix them, to bring Joshua back to life, like just make everybody except for himself, everybody who is alive or that could still be saved, he saved in that moment by spending all of his mana and turning himself into stone.
All I know is that we need to stop at Treno, talk to Dr. Tot, and get us a super soft and find Clive. That's what we need.
God.
That's the DLC. That's the DLC.
I do appreciate them turning the status effects into story elements and not true status effects. Like stone and even poison was only used very lightly with some of the Marlboro stuff.
I don't even think they had poison. Like there wasn't a poison, was there?
No, there was literally no status effects in the game. I think with Marlboro, if you were hit with its poisonous attacks,
you staggered for a little bit.
Yeah, you got debuffed a little bit, but that was it.
Yeah, see, I didn't like that either. But that goes back to the whole elements thing. That's actually piggybacking off of my original complaint was the elements thing. I could
do a whole like chat about things I don't like about the combat. Actually, there's tons of little tiny flaws. But I don't want to be that guy. Like I genuinely really enjoyed the game.
Mage, we are all that guy. Come on, that's why we're here.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm the guy right out the gate was like, yeah, 7's overrated. Like right out the gate, I was like, bam.
I don't.
Let's piss somebody off. Let's fucking go. I'm gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna piss somebody off.
I don't. Well, I mean, not to get off on that tangent. I don't disagree with you. 7's my favorite based on nostalgia, not because I think it's the best. I think 9's the best, like hands down, the best Final Fantasy. But
7's great.
7's my favorite just because of nostalgia.
Like 6 is overrated too. Probably the 6 fanboys will be frothing at the mouth worse than the 7 ones.
Look, well, that's because you're a Final Fantasy IV stan.
Everybody's favorite Final Fantasy does not necessarily mean it's the best Final Fantasy. It's just your favorite. I'm sorry.
That's the thing. I'm sorry. There is no best Final Fantasy. There's
you just only thing go you can ahead pick and climb out of your basement and go tell your mom that some dudes on the internet hurt your feelings. Because just because it's your favorite Final Fantasy doesn't mean it's the best Final Fantasy.
Correct. Yep. I agree with you 100%.
I brought your mom more juice boxes. She has one in the fridge for you, butt champ.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's make the internet mad. All right, guys, on that note, you know what? I think we should do this again. I think we should talk about I did in this chat, I did want to talk about all the characters and all the summons in detail and stuff like that, but they're just what would we as we said earlier, we'll be here all night. So I think this is a good place to cut it. We'll probably come back again, maybe if that's okay with you guys, and talk about
I'll be here with the bells on.
I mean, I don't know when this will be happening. This is kind of like my
I don't
first.
understand why you thought we'd have this done in like an hour. Like, what the fuck were you thinking, Cheeto?
Oh my God, Leanne was like, "Is he out of his mind?"
Well, yeah, I am.
You've worked with me too long.
Yep. Well, it's okay, but I mean, no, a good discussion is more important than keeping on a time frame or on anything like that. I don't these live chats. You know, I mean, I've been talking about doing these on Milquetoast for a while. I love them. I mean, I love talking with you guys. You know, we have the nerd tube stuff going on, but sometimes this stuff that we love that they don't love, like, gets really lost in the shuffle. And I really wanted, like, I really don't want to be hogtied by that stuff while we have these really good discussions. I don't want our stuff to get lost in the shuffle, you know, of all the other stuff on NerdTube. So, you know, Bearded, why are you looking at me like that?
Am I?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were looking at me weird.
That dreamy look of when are we going to do part 2?
Yeah, well, that's
in like 2 weeks from now.
That's fine with me. As I said, whenever you guys are available, I mean, we can try to set it up again. I mean, I know it took me forever to get through the game, but I was Let's Playing it, and I was
the only reason we're having this conversation now and not 6 months ago is because you're slow as fuck, Cheeto.
Dude, it took me 9 months to beat Horizon Forbidden West. Like, when I pay $60 for a game or $70 for a game, I get my time out of it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blow through it. I take my time.
It's very rare these days that I actually finish a fucking game. And for all the bad things I've said about Final Fantasy XVI, I finished that fucking game. Like, a lot of times I'll get like 70% through and I'm just like, I lose interest. Like, because it was great in the beginning and it just kind of petered off, and then it just, you know, it didn't hold my interest. I was ready for the next thing. But with Final Fantasy 16, at the end of the day, I played through the whole fucking game, and I didn't stop. And it was long, and there were times where I'm like, this game's still not over, but still, it held my interest the entire time.
I honestly, for me, that's a great thing about Let's Playing is it does kind of hold me accountable to finish a game. I do that too. Like, I get about 75-80% of the way through a game, and then you're right. Like, you just kind of lose interest, or you've almost got that like completionist fatigue where you're like, I need to take a break, and then you just don't come back to it.
I don't feel like there's a reason to keep doing Let's Plays. Like, if you're at the end and you're not enjoying yourself, and if nobody's asking you to finish it, don't finish it. Who cares?
I finish it for me because I want to finish it.
Sure.
Anyway, all right, boys. Well,
wait, is Mage okay? Did he freeze?
No, Mage is he's thinking. Okay. I think
he was just sitting still. He was just sitting very still.
All right. Well, everybody out there in YouTube land, thank you very much for joining us for this chat. I'd also love to give a huge thank you to the Big Green Mage, MageORage, and the BeardedManThing down below. I love these chats with you guys. Oh shit, I forgot. So, right after this, I'm going to go directly from doing this to putting their links in the description below because I forgot to do it. So yeah. So
I didn't remind you. That's me. That's on me. I was supposed to.
But anyway, tell me where we can find you guys really quick. MageORage, where can we find you at?
You can find me here on YouTube at MageORage 4757. I'm also on Twitch. It's a little confusing. Somebody's squatting on the MageORage name there, so I'm still Gilder37 there for now. I'm currently doing a play of Wild Arms, the PlayStation 1 cult classic.
That's been so good, dude.
Yeah, today at 6, part 4 went live over on YouTube, so you could check that out there. I also do World of Warcraft content, World of Warcraft PvP stuff on both platforms. So announcements for all that stuff is found on facebook.com/MageORage.
All right. And BeardedManThing, where can we find your beautiful bearded face at?
Well, I am pretty much everywhere. The BeardedManThing, all one word. Unless that's too many characters, then it's usually TBManThing. Yeah. It's very easy to find me.
And as I said, if you're watching this live, then give me like 15 minutes after we're done here, and I'll get those links in the description. But if you're watching this on the rewind, then definitely they should be down in there. Go subscribe and follow on Twitch and YouTube for these guys. Both do excellent content. I love them.
Don't follow my YouTube.
Yeah, don't go to Bearded's YouTube.
Don't go to my YouTube. It's embarrassing. Go to my TikTok. That's equally as embarrassing, but probably more entertaining.
Yeah. So anyway, with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining me here. And again, to my comrades, my party members in arms, we will catch you guys in the next one. Catch you later.